Still a lot of talk about Auburn. Big commitment recently. Their big weekend is upon us. Their big cat weekend where they get all the top recruits. And this headline from AL.com, reading between the lines of Hugh Freeze and Auburn's time at SEC Media Days by Ainslie Lee, now covers the team. And it is a delight to say hello to you, Ainsley. Thank you for making time. You previously worked in Gainesville covering the Gators. Good afternoon and welcome.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here. So previously in Gainesville and haven't moved yet, but excited to make that move there to Auburn soon.
Well, don't leave before I ask you about Billy Napier, but I do want to start talking about Hugh Freeze, who seems to have had quite the offseason in spite of a tumultuous departure from Ole Miss many years ago, great run at Liberty, and now landing at Auburn. Describe, I realize you're just fairly new on the beat, but what's it been like covering him, especially last week?
Yeah, so, my biggest thing is I think in the situation I've been in where I'm kind of new to a beat coming in, I think God gave us 2 years for a reason, and so I've just kind of been soaking everything up and being limited on, I don't want to be too quick to put stuff out, but covering Hugh Freeze there at SEC Media Days in Nashville, I think he realizes that he's certainly got a project ahead of him. You nailed it on the head talking about the additions that he's made. Auburn landed the third best transfer class this cycle. I think he's got about over 40 new faces there on that roster. Just over 20 are coming from that transfer portal there. So, he says he's going to have to put tape on helmets and things like that come fall camp to kind of learn who his guys are. So it's certainly a work in progress there at Auburn. But it seems like everybody there is juiced up about the hire. Obviously he's happy to be there. Wasn't sure he was going to get another opportunity in the SEC, but after that success that he had there at Liberty, it seems like Auburn might be a good fit for him, with the new athletic director and a new president and all that good stuff. So it seems like he's fitting in and meshing well, and now it's up to him to make sure the guys can do the same thing.
Ainsley, before we even get to the next question, recruiting, we have certain recruiting limitations here in terms of speaking with any degree of specificity, but everyone knows what happened this week with Auburn receiving a major commitment, a 5-star, looking at Georgia and Alabama. As that news broke with an eye to this weekend where they're bringing in all the big players they're trying to get, describe the change in excitement and optimism and what it all could mean down the road for Hugh Freeze and his staff.
Yeah, the commitment you're referring to, DeMarcus Riddick, a linebacker, he was a kid that, a bunch of teams were chasing and, was previously committed to Georgia and, made that flip yesterday. But my colleague there at AL.com, Matt Cohen, kind of handled all that. And he did a big picture piece on what that meant for the program. Being an in-state kid, Auburn hasn't had a lot of play there much. So for Hugh Freeze to kind of, knock off the 2-time defending national champions in Georgia and, obviously keep in-state rival Alabama at bay was a big deal. And it certainly got the fan base juiced up on social media. And, as you get into Big Cat Weekend, which is the big recruiting weekend there coming up this weekend, it seems like momentum certainly in Auburn's favor, and he's going to look to add to those classes. He said it himself at SEC Media Days that those 24 and 25 classes might be what defines kind of his tenure there at Auburn.
Ainsley, let me go back to your previous beat because there's so much conversation about Billy Napier. Yeah, he's finally turned the corner. There seems to be a lot of momentum about his recruiting, but the first season was a mess, and the schedule is just downright impossible. Describe what it was like covering him in that first season and what you learned looking ahead for the Gators in 23.
Yeah, that season was confusing, wasn't it? You get out the gate and you beat Utah, which is, I think, something that maybe shocked some people, and it certainly kind of had Florida fans thinking that, boy, we're on the up and up here, and we've got our guy and all that good stuff. And then, you almost lose at home to USF. It comes down to a last-minute field goal And then you've got that game against South Carolina, and then South Carolina goes on to do, and what they ended up doing towards the back end of the season. And then you go into the bowl game, and you almost miss it. You almost mess up that really long streak Florida's got of never being shut out. So last season was exactly that. I mean, just confusing, and it was hard for fans to get a grasp on what this team was going to look like. I mean, obviously you've got Anthony Richardson at quarterback, and obviously the guys in the NFL thought a lot about him, but just couldn't get all the pieces together consistently enough, I guess I should say. But I think, what Billy Napier in Florida maybe lacked last year, in on-field production, they're able to kind of keep their graces keep their graces with the fan base and what he's done, obviously, in recruiting. So I think, recruiting is a big tool that I think these programs can use to kind of keep, fan bases excited and optimistic when, maybe things aren't going the right way on Saturdays.
Well, I want to just pause for a second and talk about you, because, I mean, you're a recent graduate and you're now on your second major beat. I have to compliment you. One of your former bosses has already texted me during this interview, Buddy Martin, telling me what a great and future star you are. Well, I mean, young people don't waste any time anymore, do they?
No, I don't think we're supposed to either.
No.
No, Buddy, it's so funny. Buddy reached out to you. He meant the world to me. Means the world to me. I'd be doing myself and himself a disservice if I didn't, express my appreciation for him and what he did for my career, both in school and now. But yeah, I mean, I think everybody that I talked to, it's funny. When I was younger, my parents always told me that I was going to get be into sports media some way. They thought maybe the sport, like the sideline reporter route. I was like, no, I'm going to go into sports medicine. And so I did that for a while. And I was like, man, this requires a lot of biology and things that I frankly don't want to do and aren't so much fun. So I ended up kind of, flipping the sails a little bit and getting into the media side of things. And the rest was kind of history. So, yeah, I mean, I love my time here at Florida. And I'm super excited to, kind of immerse myself into another, obviously, super passionate fan base like we have here in the SEC and see what's ahead.
Well, listen, we are so excited to get to know you a little bit better and look forward to seeing you. And thanks for making time, Ainsley, and all the very best. You're off to a phenomenal start in your rather brief career.
Thank you, Paul. It means a lot. Thank you.
You bet. Talk soon. Ainsley Lee joining us from Auburn, and she's a new beat reporter for AL.com, and we will be right back.